Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Josh here. Today we'll be continuing Wrong Turn Month with Wrong Turn 2, Dead End, which premiered October 9th, 2007 and was directed by Joe Lynch. So this film is set a little bit after the first movie. Basically, a bunch of people show up on the set of this TV show. They're told that they're competing for $100,000, and as the movie goes on, they split off into groups and start searching throughout the woods for these little things set up by the producer of the TV show so they can further themselves in the game. The side characters start getting picked off one by one, and slowly but surely, Three Finger and the others start moving in on the remaining survivors. They set up this one girl, Mara, to kind of seem like she's going to be the main character. She's super innocent and shy and like trying her best throughout the portions of the movie that she's in. However, she's the first of the duos to actually be dispatched. There's a scene where her and Erica Leerhsen are running away and she just gets axed right in the back of the head unexpectedly. And it was actually a great scene because if you had never seen the movie before, you would probably be assuming that Mara was going to be the main character, and they totally flipped that on its head, so I do like that about this movie. The acting, while not as good as the first movie, was still pretty decent in this one. The main character, Nina, who totally sucked throughout the first half of the movie, was played by Erica Leerhsen from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003. I actually didn't recognize her at first until I looked at the cast list for this movie. She looks completely different with the long hair, but once I realized who she was, I couldn't not recognize that scream, so I definitely see why they picked her for this one. We've got Texas Battle, aka Jake. He also was in Final Destination 3, if you don't remember, as the dickhead character who had his head crushed by the weights after he didn't believe the two main characters about death coming after them. He had a very short role in Final Destination 3, but he had a lot of screen time in this movie, which actually surprised me because I don't remember him being in it so much and being such a vital character to the events of the movie. I actually didn't even remember him surviving at the end of the movie. And Yankee Crisolo, who played Elena, who you might recognize as one of the babes who burned alive in the tanning beds in Final Destination 3. She's sunbathing out near the water and one of the male mutants is like whacking it to her when all of a sudden his girlfriend slash sister catches him and starts beating the crap out of him. She runs out of the woods in a fury and starts slashing the back of Elena all to pieces. Her spine is exposed and it was just such a brutal death with great practical effects. Anytime you can use practical effects in a death, I definitely say do it because they're way better than CGI and they definitely stand the test of time a lot better than a CG kill. Three Finger is played by an unknown actor in this movie named Jeff Scruton. For some reason, Julian Richings must not have wanted to return for a straight-to-DVD sequel, which I guess I can kind of understand. Three Finger has an incredibly small role in this movie. He's basically only in a handful of scenes and then he's pretty much easily dispatched by the army guy. I thought for a surviving character from Wrong Turn 1 that he would have a little bit more importance to the movie, but he was really just there to have a little bit of a knife fight with the army dude and then he was shotgunned into the water and you didn't see him again until like the very end of the movie. He pretty much didn't do anything at all. Eventually we have the return of the gas station owner from the first movie. It turns out that he's actually the father of a bunch of these mutants and he has been supporting them by sending people the wrong direction.
Say hello to the missus for me.
So as the movie winds down to its final few people, they all end up at this old mill. This mill is another hideout for a family of the mutants, for a ma and pa and a son and daughter that we've seen throughout the movie. A nice surprise in the casting list that I didn't notice until after I watched the movie was actually Ken Kersinger, who played Pa in the movie. If you guys don't know, he also played Jason in Freddy vs. Jason, and he was also in Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, as one of the bar owners. So it was definitely a really cool surprise to see him in the movie because I actually did like the Pa character. He was really strong and definitely put up a good fight. Then we've got Henry Rollins, aka Dale. You probably recognize him from a ton of movies and TV shows because he is in a lot of stuff. I liked his character in the movie. However, he did seem a little bit of a caricature, almost like a cartoon army character a little bit. By the time he had like dynamite strapped to the arrows and he was going after the mutants, it had kind of gotten a little comical, but it definitely was cool when he finally shot the mutant in the back of the arrow and blew them both up, because those two definitely had it coming. The big set piece at the end at the mill heavily reminded me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003. I don't know if it was because Erica Leerhsen was in this movie or what, but this whole movie was giving me Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot vibes throughout most of it, especially towards the very end when they have Erica Leerhsen tied up at the front of the table and they're having that family dinner style Texas Chainsaw scene. It almost feels like it's straight out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning, the prequel to the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. They've got her strapped down at the end of the table, they're teasing her, shoving food in her mouth, she's wrapped up with barbed wire, she's letting out these super crazy screams. Like the whole scene really feels Texas Chainsaw Massacre-y. And the fact that they're set in a mill, which is where Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 had its whole end sequence at, definitely added to that feeling. Nina, Jake, and Dale have a final face-off with the rest of the mutants. The armor guy actually does pretty good, but he is pretty easily dispatched by what is like a Batman throwing device by one of the mutants that has barbed wire on it. I did find that a little bit silly. Some of the kills in the movie were good and nice and gory. However, I felt there was kind of a almost cheapness to the movie. I know that they wouldn't have had the same budget as the first movie where this was pretty much straight to DVD. So Nina and Jake both face off with the final two mutants. They manage to kill them and they get away. However, just as they're escaping, it cuts to somebody with 3 fingers holding a mutant baby and feeding him a little human finger as a treat, letting us know that 3 Finger is still alive and that he'll return for the sequel. I definitely like that 3 Finger survived in this movie just because he was such a major part of the first movie, only to be basically sidelined by all the other mutants and all the other characters going on in this movie. I'm surprised they decided to use so little of him when he was such a big character in the first movie, and especially after he had that end credit sequence where he killed that cop. I would have thought they would have had a bigger role for him in this movie than basically just having one fight. I think my favorite mutant in the movie was definitely Pa, aka Ken Kersinger. He was just such a huge force, and anytime people were fighting him, you could tell that he was going to be trouble because he could take so much damage and just shrug it off like it was nothing. He definitely was a lot more of an imposing force than 3 Finger was, and maybe that was their idea for not using 3 Finger as much, because he was basically relegated to a quick side character who you think is dead for 75% of the movie. I didn't mind the plot of the movie. I think them going there to film a TV show was a decent idea. However, the one thing that really stood out to me was like, how did they manage to set up all the stuff for the TV show, get the trailer set up the traps and the quizzes and all that stuff for the show, and nobody ran into the mutants at all? It seems kind of weird to me that there would be all that cast and crew already there and they don't encounter them till the day of filming. Kind of convenient if you ask me. All the kills were pretty decent in the movie. The kill at the start where they rip off the girl's lip and then chop her in half was really awesome and gory. I actually also really like the kills of the mutants where they get shot and blown up with the arrows, and then later on when 2 of them are pushed into the meat grinder. I think those were really gory scenes and they did a good job with the blood. So I actually had more fun with this movie than I did when I originally watched it way back in the day. This was only my second time ever seeing the movie, so I didn't remember it at all. Before when I watched it, I was like, I'm never going to watch this movie again, it was terrible. But on this repeat viewing, I actually did like it quite a bit, and now I actually will be revisiting the Wrong Turn franchise a little more often, because I think I judged it a little bit too harshly back in the day, because this was actually a fun movie. Alright guys, what did you think of Wrong Turn 2 Dead End? Let me know in the comment section down below. Soon, I'll be checking out Wrong Turn 3 Left 4 Dead, and I'll let you know what I think of that one. Until then, have a good one.